Speaking of unemployed quarterbacks,
Oh,
while I was looking at the top added players on the Sleeper app, a surprise name at number one, Colin Kaepernick.
Psh, ain't no surprise. He's all over the news right now. It's the Carmelo Anthony effect. We already talked about this.
Is there any reason to have any hope in Colin Kaepernick being a productive fantasy quarterback in the foreseeable future?
I am torn because I think that due to the situations and things that have been, like he is now justified. We can say that what essentially resulted in him not being able to get back on a team, says the masses, is now like being fully supported. So I think he's going to be on a roster no matter what. I really think that. But I think as far as fantasy relevance, there's nowhere right now. We talked about this with Cam. You got a guy that's ready, like legit ready to go.
I would take a chance on Cam Newton before I would take a chance on Cap.
I 100% agree. But again, it's a crazy time right now that I do think that there's going to be a flyer taken on Cap. And I'm not saying that we won't see him, but I don't believe that his playing time will be anything significant, at least out of the gate. And maybe he comes in for an injury. I don't know. But I'm just saying I think he'll be rostered. I think he'll be on a team. But I don't think there's any fantasy value right now. Because we talked about it. There's no teams that need quarterbacks. Simple as that.
Paul?
exactly. Well, given the fact that we've mentioned this in previous episodes, and obviously right now, that it seems like the quarterback position is about as deep as it's ever been. You look at where Jameis ended up. You look at the fact that Cam is still without a job. I think debating Colin Kaepernick's fantasy relevance is pretty much out, off the table. You could even debate his NFL relevance. I do agree with you. I think I can see him on a team at some point, but I don't think he's not taking starter reps anytime soon in the NFL, barring injury.
Yeah, and there's context
debating his
that he hasn't
his
had.
fantasy relevance, I think, is not even worth our time at this point.
I do think that based on the current climate and everything that's going on in this country right now, how there's a complete attention brought to the movement that he brought to the table.
Yeah, and kudos to him for finally being heard. Like I'm going to say that. Like good for you that what you started out doing is now coming to a head. But it just sucks that he probably sacrificed his career because he was an exciting player to watch. But towards the end of it, what people forget is that he was fighting for a starting spot.
Well, my view on the way that Colin Kaepernick was kind of blackballed from the NFL, I think he was blackballed out of a backup quarterback job. I think he played his way out of a starting job.
He did that. He did that before kneeling. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
He has not played 16 games in a season since 2014. In his last two active seasons in 2015 and 2016, his record was 3-16.
And 4 years is such a long time.
It's forever in the NFL. Now, he had a 59.8 career completion percentage. That's not very good. It's not the fact that he was blackballed out of a starting job. He kind of lost that based on his performance, because I think that the offense that he ran was a bit of a gimmick as it was.
Right. It was a Harbaugh offense.
Yep, Jim Harbaugh, yep.
So, and they ran the triple option where they relied on him to run the ball so much. He set that all-time rushing record for a quarterback in that playoff game against Green Bay.
It got them to a Super Bowl.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. The offense he was in at the time, like, if Jim Harbaugh came back to coach an NFL team, I'd be on board with Colin Kaepernick being on that team. But even again, as a start, like, there's just, like, speed is the one thing that you can't gain back, if that makes sense. You can remain fast
if
and
he
quick.
were to play in 2020, this would be his age 33 season.
You're talking about a guy who's he built his career as a quarterback with his legs, right? Now he's entering his mid-30s, having not played football in 3 seasons.
Well, we've seen so many offenses in the NFL come in as a gimmick, come in as something new. We saw the
Wildcat.
Wildcat. That
Whoa, you guys
we
are
saw the
in
Wildcat
sync.
with the Dolphins, where they won 11 games that year, and then the NFL adjusted at the turn of a dime, where they said, okay, that's not going to work anymore. You're going to have to find normal ways to beat us outside of that gimmick. I think that the triple option with Cap is one of those situations where teams are faster. They're better prepared to deal with that option. Now, if he were to come back and do what Lamar Jackson did with his legs and be the dual threat that Lamar Jackson is, where it wasn't a gimmick, where he was just impossible to get a hold of, we'd be singing a different tune right now.
Right.
But at 33 years old, I don't trust that he has the legs that he did 4 or 5 years ago.
And even with those legs, age, the hits hurt more. In getting older, I have figured out, things just hurt more now.
So do you think at this stage of his career, having not gone through the hits and not gone through the rigors of an NFL season the last 3 years, is that something that can work to his benefit at this point?
I'd say yes and no.
I don't think Father Time went to sleep just because he retired.
Yeah, I would say that he is definitely fresh. People you get fresh legs. Like, he'll be ready to go. I bet he'll have the spunk, the charisma. He'll be energy. He'll be ready to go. But the problem is that I foresee, the problem will be when it's time to go. And the first hit of a 340-pound guy landing on you, or the 260-pound linebacker running a 4.4 through you. Like, if you don't have that kind of contact for 4 years, the first time you have it, your body's just not going to be ready. So, I don't know how he's training. I can't, there's so much I can't talk about because I don't know, but I don't see what a lot of people hope to see, because I'll put it to you like this. I support what he did. I support him as a human, but like I said, it's just really unfortunate that it cost him his career, because I do think his career's over.
I think that when everything went down with him kneeling for the anthem and the negative attention that it brought him in his career, the reason that he went unsigned wasn't because of the kneeling alone, because we saw NFL players across the league kneeling. Now, it was all based on him starting the movement there, but there was that safety that was on his same team that went on to play multiple years.
Eric Reed.
Eric Reed, yeah. Eric Reed went on and played multiple years after that. He's even switched
He's
teams.
still in the league.
He's still in the league now. He wasn't blackballed just off of kneeling with Cap. But I think that when you're an NFL team, the last thing that you want is media questions about the guy holding the clipboard.
Mm.
You want the attention to be on the players that are on the field, which is why I think that he went unsigned as long as he did, because no one saw him as a starter anymore. And everyone kept pointing to, Matt Moore's getting a backup job, or this Mike Glennon's getting a backup job, or whoever else in that time frame is getting signed as a backup. They're getting signed to hold a clipboard. No one wants all the media attention away from the guys that are on the field. Now, that media attention may turn into a positive light after everything that we're seeing in our country right now.
Oh, and you're seeing so much regret from teams and organizations. I mean, the NFL saying that they should have taken it more seriously, and they what he did. It's such an unfortunate thing because it worked. Like, it definitely helped bring attention to it. But yeah, like he was already fighting for a job before that, And I'm not saying that his career is more important than what he did, but I will say that when people argue now, like, he can come back and do it, I just don't agree.